Alright everybody, this here is Steve Austin, or the impression that Steve Austin is being given by the host of this podcast. I'm just here to tell you that this podcast is intended for a mature audience. The subjects and viewpoints in this podcast may not be suitable for younger listeners, and that listener discretion is advised. But if you're refusing to listen to me, hell, I don't give a rat's ass. I'm waiting for the money that I'm getting here for this plug for this show so I can get back to opening up a can of audio whoop-ass for the working man. Hey-ho! Anyways, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the WrestleBox podcast. Hello everybody and welcome to the revamped, the reincarnated WrestleBox podcast. Yes, Paul the Hat Guy Flinders from RAD Live has thrown this obsolete podcast into the lake of reincarnation and it has come out on the other side with myself at the helm. I'm the Scouse one from the RAD Live podcast on a part-time basis, Lewis Ogden. And yeah, welcome to the return of the WrestleBox podcast. Now, for long-term listeners of who may remember the old WrestleBox podcasts that are going up on the Patreon page for RAD Live, I'll plug that Patreon page at the end of the show. But basically, the whole history of WrestleBox is it was the very beginning. It was the sort of the brainchild before we transitioned into RAD Live, and it's ever since like Paul or Mr. Flinders made the transition from WrestleBox to RAD Live. It's left the WrestleBox podcast sort of without a leader, so to speak, and I'm like Cody Rhodes. I'm picking up the scraps of this once forgotten era and just trying to get it back on the map. So the basic premise of this show is I enjoy talking about wrestling. It's one of my major passions. It's something that I've been watching since I was like 8 or 9 years old. And yes, I probably shouldn't have been watching WWF Raw and Nitro in 1999, 2000. But, I was young and stupid. But, there was some good stuff there. So yeah, I've been an avid wrestling fan for quite a lot of my life. It's probably a good 14 years now. Makes me feel old. And, I always like talking about wrestling on sort of like of the RAD shows, but one of the problems that I find is sort of we have our discussions with WWE and they tend to get into really in-depth conversations with WWE, and by the time we've done WWE stuff we've been talking about it for probably about a good half hour, 45 minutes, so we like to move on to a different topic. Now I have become an avid watcher of New Japan Pro Wrestling, as you've probably most well aware about. Every time I've talked about wrestling stuff in the past few podcasts, and there has been a lot that has gone on from the last time we really properly talked about anything to do with New Japan, which was Wrestle Kingdom 12, which was back in January. Now, I did talk about briefly what's been happening from the latest couple of shows of New Japan from the last RAD podcast, which is the episode entitled Howdy Howdy Let's Get Rowdy. So yeah, that was me talking a little bit about New Japan. I said I'd create a podcast going in depth of everything that's gone on in New Japan, and this is what you're listening to at the moment. So yeah, we have got a lot to cover. We've got about 4 months worth of storyline aspects, what certain people have been going on, and the future for what New Japan Pro Wrestling have got coming up in the next couple of months. So literally that's just going to be what's going on this particular show today. All of WWE talk is really going to be, it's either going to be kept to a minimum or it's not going to be talked about at all, because any WWE talk will be talked about on RAD Live, because obviously you've not only got myself, you've got Paul the Hat Guy, and you've got the lost one himself, Adam Cox, to talk about, as well as stuff that they talk about on the Lost Art of Podcasting as well. I'll plug all that at the end of the show. Let's get into it. Okay guys, first thing I'm going to be talking about today is a storyline that I have wanted to talk about for so long, but due to stuff coming up on RAD, we've just not had a chance to. And it is the Bullet Club implosion story. Now, as I say, this is just my opinion, but I think this currently is one of the most well-taught stories going on in wrestling at the moment. I think it's just been absolutely top notch. If you're not familiar with the Bullet Club implosion storyline, it's basically like civil war within the Bullet Club, and it's primarily been going on with Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega. Now, obviously, I can't really call it Cody Rhodes because of copyright issues from WWE, but hey ho. So yeah, after Cody Rhodes was released from WWE, or he might have asked for his release, I can't really remember, but it was around mid-2016, I believe, and he did time on the independents as just sort of like plain old Cody Rhodes, and then he got his break in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And as I say, he was brought in just as, regular sort of Cody. And then sort of the back end of 2016, he was brought in as a member of the Bullet Club. And for about, not really a year, I'd probably say probably a year, because that's really when the issues started going on. But he was just sort of like a member in Bullet Club. Now, the issues with the Bullet Club really started around the Dominion of 2017, so this is last year at Dominion, during the fabled Kenny Omega Kazuchika Okada world title match that famously went to a 60-minute draw. Now, throughout that match, Cody was toying with the idea of throwing in the towel for Omega, but Omega obviously didn't want him to do that. And then it was preceded at the G1 special that they did at Long Beach. I think it was like a month later. It was the same couple of shows where they introduced the US title to New Japan. And on that series of shows, Cody challenged Okada for the world title, and Omega subsequently did exactly the same thing with exactly the same results. Now, the real implosion didn't really start kicking off until around about just after Wrestle Kingdom, because at the New Year's Dash show there was a big well, as there is one to be in New Japan shows. Multi-man match, collection of New Japan stars against Bullet Club members. Now, on opposite sides of the teams were Cody and Kota Ibushi. Now, Kota Ibushi and Cody had a match at Wrestle Kingdom the night before that was very, very solid. I remember really, really liking that match. And anyway, the Bullet Club members won this multi-man tag match. And then all of the Bullet Club members, primarily Cody, tried going after Ibushi. And they were going to injure him. I think they were doing the wrap his leg round the chair and just going to bust his knee up. Well, Kenny Omega came out to make the save, and it was more stopping Cody than saving Ibushi. But, you know, sort of like in the act of preventing Cody, he's saved Ibushi, which I'll get onto Omega and Ibushi in a little bit. So, literally, just been a case of there being infighting. Omega wanted to quell the situation, and he thought that the best way to stop the infighting was to bring in a new member. Now, that member was going to be Switchblade Jay White, who it had been teased that Jay White was getting like a repackage, or there was a tease of this Switchblade character, and it turned out to be Jay White, because Jay White challenged Hiroshi Tanahashi for the Intercontinental title at Wrestle Kingdom in a rather disappointing match that Tanahashi won. So they tried doing the big presentation schedule. It looked as if Jay White was going along with it, but then he subsequently attacked Omega. Now that led to the next set of serious shows, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But in the main event of that show, Jay White defeated Omega and became the Intercontinental Champion. Not the Intercontinental Champion, the US Champion. Sorry, I'm getting my titles mixed up. So, once again, Cody getting in the face of Omega, and the Bullet Club are trying to quell the situation, primarily the Young Bucks. And just as an act of frustration, as Omega and Cody are having these heated words, Nick Jackson, one half of the Young Bucks, tries coming across, and Omega shoves him to the floor. Instantly regrets it, tries to, sort of like apologise and that. Young Bucks aren't having it, they walk off. All of the members of Bullet Club walk off, which leave Cody and Kenny Omega in the ring. Now, they seem to have buried the hatchet. As Omega's exiting the ring, Cody catches him and hits him with the crossroads, and subsequently kicks him out of the Bullet Club. So, yeah. So it was just after the attack, like, it's just Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page who are looking to subsequently injure Omega. Out comes Kota Ibushi, runs off the two people, and they tease it, and they have the reunion of the Golden Lovers. Now, the Golden Lovers are primarily, well, it's Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, and they were a tag team in All Japan, I think it was. I can't remember whether it was All Japan or another Japanese promotion, but they were like a big successful tag team in one of these like smaller Japanese promotions. And when Ibushi got the opportunity to go to New Japan, I think Omega went off somewhere else, so they subsequently separated the teams. And by the time Omega came back into New Japan, that's when Ibushi went off on his hiatus, and he went on the other independent scene. He went and did the WWE Cruiserweight Classic. As Ibushi is away from New Japan, Omega's was developing the reputation as the cleaner, and obviously got inducted into the Bullet Club and was there in the junior heavyweight division for about a year. They've subsequently moved up to heavyweight, and so they've really been sort of kept apart quite a bit. And apart from sort of like, as I say, the New Year's Dash where Omega subsequently saved Ibushi returned the favour, and they decided to reunite the team, which the Japanese crowd really, really loved. So it's worth mentioning as well, as I'm going through all this this storyline, a great way to sort of like follow up and have a more in-depth perspective of what the story is going through. is a good way of watching the Being the Elite YouTube series, which is produced by the Young Bucks, where they go into a little bit more depth. You get like a backstage aspect, well, a backstage storyline aspect of the story developing a bit more. So the Golden Lovers, they have their couple of matches. As I say, they have a couple of matches, and after one of the matches against, I believe it was Marty Scurll and Cody, and I believe they pinned Marty Scurll. Omega got on the microphone and proclaimed that the Golden Lovers were the greatest tag team in the world at that time. Well, the Young Bucks took exception to this, because obviously they've been sort of they've had issues with Omega ever since Omega shoved Nick Jackson to the floor. So they took exception to this, saying that, you know, how can you possibly say that you're the greatest tag team when you've only had one really big tag team match? It's like, if anybody has the accolade of calling themselves the best tag team in the world at the moment, it's surely us. And that's when they announced that they were going to move up from the junior tag team division into the heavyweight tag team division. And the first challenge was to Omega and Ibushi. So that match was set up for the Strong Style Evolved show in Long Beach in, I think it was April, or maybe it was just the back end of February. I can't remember. This is, you see when you're trying to do a podcast, you should have everything sorted. You really should have everything sorted. Lesson. It was in March the 25th. So, just to go back to the Being the Elite series, as the build-up for this is going on, Cody is sort of trying to implant his implosion of his own, because basically Cody's plan for the Bullet Club is he just wants to make the Bullet Club all about him. Like, he gives the impression that he cares about he gives the impression that he cares about Matt and Nick Jackson. He gives the impression that he cares about Marty Scurll, Hangman Page, but basically it's all about him. So he starts getting into the ear of Matt and Nick Jackson when they're separate, you know, sort of like when they're on their own, just basically saying, hey, your brother's good, but you've got the makings to be like a massive big single star. Like, he goes to Nick Jackson, and in storyline, it's well documented that Matt Jackson has got a niggling back injury, and Cody goes to Nick Jackson and basically goes, when I look at you as a tag team, I see you as sort of like being a nowadays Rockers. And, Matt's good. Matt is good, but, he's the Marty Jannetty of this team. And I see you as being like the Shawn Michaels of the team. I honestly think that, you could branch out and have like a really amazing singles career. And, Nick's just sort of like you sure? Really? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could possibly. And he does something similar with Matt as well, sort of like, as they're doing production meetings and stuff like that, like little sound checks, and he's going, tag teams don't always last forever, and I really think that you could be, I think you could be a real serious tag team competitor. No, not a singles competitor. And, Matt's exactly the same. He's just sort of like, yeah, but, we're doing really good as a tag team, but we don't see any reason to be splitting up. And, so Cody's basically trying to not only make the Bullet Club all about him, he's trying to split up the Young Bucks as well. My only issue with that is that they don't, the Bucks aren't aware that Cody's talked to the other brother, and that isn't realised until like later on. But I'll get onto it in a second. Also, something else that's talked about on Being the Elite is the Young Bucks have, ever since like the challenge has been made for this match, the Young Bucks have just like completely blocked Omega out of their lives for the moment. Like, they avoid him if they're on the same show as each other. They ignore his calls, his texts, his emails. So Omega makes a video message to the Young Bucks saying that, look, I was wrong to say that the Golden Lovers were the best tag team of all time. It was just the heat of the moment. I felt really good at the time, and we shouldn't be doing this infighting. We're brothers. We're as close as brothers. We're the elite, and I hate to see that you're getting. Cody's getting in your ear and trying to make him your personal bitches. And, I just think that we should all talk it out and we should try and, get the band back together. Now, Omega sends this to Nick Jackson's laptop. Or he sends it to his email account, and it comes up on Nick Jackson's laptop. Now, at that point in time, Nick Jackson doesn't have his laptop. He's left it at Cody's house. So Cody sees this video message, and it's really funny because he's out on sort of like his patio with sort of like his dog beside him, and he's there on his like sort of like garden chair, and he gets Nick Jackson's laptop, and literally there for like a full 45 seconds of like that. So he's blatantly editing the video. Nick eventually gets his laptop back, and they say, "Oh, we've got a video message from Kenny." And they open it up, and it's the edited video. And basically, Cody's edited it in such a way that he's blatantly burying the Young Bucks and calling them bitches, and saying that the Golden Lovers are the greatest team in the world, and that they're basically going to kick the Young Bucks' ass at Strong Style Evolved. So immediately after seeing this, like, Matt Jackson flips out, like, who the fuck does this motherfucker think he is? He's, after all we've been through, and this is the way that he's acting. Now, Matt Jackson's fallen for it. Nick Jackson, on the other hand, is very he's very perceptive. He's just like, oh, I don't know, man, sort of like, you can see in the video that there's all these cuts and everything like that. I mean, there's a possibility that this might have been tampered with. And Matt Jackson immediately just sort of like disapproves of that. He just sort of like goes, no, man, it's there to see. Kenny's talking shit about us. Well, you know what? I'm gonna have no quarrels in beating the fuck out of him in Long Beach. So it's just really, really, really interesting little story. So they get to Strong Style Evolved. It's Omega and Ibushi, the Golden Lovers, against the Jacksons, the Young Bucks, in the main event. Now, from a personal opinion, I honestly believe this is the best tag match, like 2-on-2 tag match, that I've seen in quite some time. The only other tag team match that really sticks to mind is the Rey Mysterio and Edge versus Kurt Angle Chris Benoit match from No Mercy 2002. I think it was the night where they crowned the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champions, or WWE Tag Team Champions, because Raw had the world belts. It was just a phenomenal little match, and if anything, it was great. The in-ring and the wrestling stuff was absolutely top notch, but the storyline aspect of it was what really, really made it. Because as the match is kicking off, Omega's reluctant. He doesn't want to go against the Young Bucks. Just sort of like, look, this is stupid. We shouldn't be doing this infighting. Bucks don't care. They want to. They don't care. They're not willing to hold anything back. They're just sort of like, come on, don't frigging be easy on us. And Omega's just sort of like, he doesn't want to fight them. So he brings Ibushi in. About 5 minutes into the match, Ibushi gets to working on Matt Jackson's injured back. So he hits like one shot on him. Matt goes down, like really selling it. So Ibushi goes to hit him again. Omega comes in and sort of like pulls Ibushi off and just say, no, don't go for the back, because I don't want you to fucking seriously injure this guy. He's my mate. And then I believe it's Matt comes back again and just slaps Omega across the face and just sort of like going, again, don't you dare take it fucking easy on me. And at that point, Omega just goes, right, okay, you don't want me to take it easy? Then fine. I'm just gonna treat you like any other opponent. And just absolutely a phenomenal little match. I will say this in advance, that it does go 41 minutes, this match, which you may think that's quite a big task to watch, like a 41-minute tag team match. And I must say, watching it live at the time, there was a part of me that sort of like, a big tag finisher was hit. Okay, that must be the finish, and it wasn't. And a couple of minutes later, there was sort of like a big finish hit. I was like, okay, that'd be a nice way to end it, and then it didn't, and it was just sort of like, okay, maybe this is going like probably 5 minutes too long. But by the end of it, it didn't really matter, because it was a great story being told. Also, a great story that was being told in this match. Whether it was sort of like the bang for your buck tag team move or the Meltzer driver. If you don't know what those tag finishes are, go look them up on YouTube. The highly choreographed Young Buck tag moves. But it meant Matt Jackson doing all like the holding work, while Nick does all sort of like the 450s or the run up the ropes into the moonsault. So it would mean the Matt doing all the heavy lifting. Now, of course, with his bad back that it was worked on for like a good 20 minutes at this point in the match, Nick Jackson would have to come over and help, like say Omega up onto Matt's shoulders, or help Ibushi up onto sort of like Matt's shoulders. Just sort of like really, really top class storytelling. So there's another little great bit as well where Omega goes to hit a one-winged angel on Matt Jackson, but he hesitates and just sort of like almost doesn't want to do it. Like, he doesn't want to hit this big move on his mate. And it's Matt Jackson who, bear in mind, is on Omega's shoulders. He's going to have like the one-winged angel hit on him if Omega doesn't hesitate. And he grabs Omega's arm, puts it around his own neck, and just goes, will you just fucking hit the move already? And Omega does. And it's just sort of, just fantastic little storytelling. So the Golden Lovers win the match. And, they make their exit. Now, it's worth mentioning that the setup, the entranceway setup for this particular show is that there are two separate entranceways. Like, say there's like an entranceway that leads to the top left-hand corner of the arena, and there's another entranceway that leads to the top right-hand corner of the arena. So the Golden Lovers go up the entranceway to the top left-hand corner. They go off. Young Bucks are still in the ring. Cody comes in and starts berating the Young Bucks. Like, he gets Nick Jackson, like, has him up against the ropes and just sort of, berating him and screaming in his face. Matt Jackson tries coming across to, cool the situation, and just like with what Omega did, Cody, like, without hesitating, just turns around and shoves him immediately. And once again, it's, oh shit, I didn't, I'm so sorry, I didn't realise it was you. And then the Golden Lovers come in and run him off. Now, this is followed up on Being the Elite, where the Young Bucks are backstage with Marty Scurll. They're having Matt's got like an ice pack on his back, they're nursing the wounds. And Cody comes in and, immediately is just sort of, oh my god, guys, are you okay? And stuff like that. And this is sort of like what has made Cody a really darn good bloody heel. Whereas when Omega shoved Nick down, he was instantly, look, I'm really sorry, it was the heat of the moment. When the excuse that Cody has for shoving Matt down is that he doesn't admit liability. He instantly goes off and tries to blame Omega. He's just sort of like, look, I'm really sorry. I thought you were Kenny. which is complete bollocks. It's just complete bollocks, because, like, when Cody's berating Nick up against sort of like the ropes, the entranceway where Omega's gone off to is literally just to Cody's left hand side, and it's not like it's out of eye shot. You could see him coming down. So it's just Cody being like a self-centered little bastard. They apparently call the words, they shake hands and all that. Cody leaves the room, and as they're sitting down, Nick turns to Matt Jackson and just goes, "I don't think we could trust this guy." And you don't get any response from Matt, and then that's the end of that particular episode. So one of the things that they also the next big storyline aspect was around on April 1st, Cody revealed an image for the new Bullet Club logo. Now, this new logo is just basically a Bullet Club. It's basically a Bullet Club logo, but it's got like Cody references and style all across it. Like, it doesn't say Bullet Club anymore. It says American Nightmare. All of the logo is sort of like etched in, the American flag, and there's like the skull at the top has like a little yellow side parting at the top, so it's blatantly not the new Bullet Club logo. It's basically the new Cody logo, but Cody's there going, oh, this is the brand new Bullet Club logo. We're retiring the old one, and on the next episode of Being the Elite, they cut to the shirt printing factory where a couple of the workers are there, like the designers there and stuff like that. And one of the workers is there going, "This is the new Bullet Club logo? I mean, this just seems to be Cody going into business for himself." And the production guy goes, "Well, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to have a word with Cody about this, because usually with the Bullet Club stuff, I go to Matt on it. I go to the Young Bucks about it, for any of these big decisions." So, excuse me. So the Bucks don't know anything about this yet. They go sort of like for a meeting at Cody in his hotel room, and they're basically going, "Look, what's going on with this, this infighting with Kenny, it's got to stop." And Cody's like, "Look, I agree. The issues are with Kenny and myself alone, and we will sort it together. Because, this is just before the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor show, where Cody and Omega were going to face each other." So the Jacksons walk out of the hotel room, but they make sure that the door doesn't close, because they hear that Cody's just got a phone call, and it's from the guy in charge of the manufacturing place, and he's basically asking Cody if this design is correct. And you can literally only hear one side of the conversation, and Cody's going, "Yeah, that's the correct design for the new Bullet Club logo." And there's the printing press guy is obviously going, "Well, I think I need to get authorization from Matt and Nick Jackson." And Cody just goes, "Look, you don't need to worry about going through those. You don't need to worry about going through those guys, because all the Bullet Club decisions, they go through one person and one person alone. They go through me. So you don't have to worry about going through the Young Bucks. You just come to me with everything Bullet Club related." And the Young Bucks hear this, and they're just sort of like, "What? What's this guy on about?" So they go off to their hotel. They go off to their own hotel room, which is just down the corridor. And they come in and just sort of, they start talking. And Nick Jackson starts going, "I was talking to Cody a while ago, and he was really putting the emphasis on me that I should really, start going into sort of like a singles role." And Matt turns around and just go, "Do you know what? I had exactly the same conversation." And then it's literally one of them that you see the gears start to turn. And then Nick Jackson gets this email on his phone. saying, "Hey, this is the new Bullet Club logo that's Cody's approved of," and obviously it's the Cody style Bullet Club logo, and they look at this and just sort of, what the fuck, man? And this isn't. There's no way this is the new Bullet Club logo. And literally, after a couple of seconds of dead silence, Nick Jackson once again turns to his brother Matt and goes, "I don't think we trust this guy, man." And instead of last time where Matt didn't give a response, Matt turns around to his brother and just goes, "Yeah, I think you're right." So immediately then you're just sort of like, oh, this is very interesting. This is very, very interesting. Sorry guys, thirsty work. All this talking malarkey. So we then go to the Supercard of Honor, Cody versus Kenny Omega. Now, it's worth mentioning as well that a big part of being the Elite has been the independent wrestler Flip Gordon, who's appeared on a few New Japan shows, mainly sort of like the indies, and has really been starting to make a name for himself. Now, he's been featured on Being the Elite because he's trying to get onto the All In show, which is the independent show that's being hosted by the Young Bucks. So that's really been his sort of story arc. And he's also been getting close with Cody's wife, Brandy. Now, there's a spot in the Omega-Cody match where Omega accidentally knocks Brandy off the apron and she goes through a table. Now, on Being the Elite, it's followed up as... Oh, no, actually, I'll leave that till later. So, yeah, bear in mind that Brandy Rhodes has taken like a bump through a table off the apron. So I'll get onto that in a little bit. So at the ending stage of this match between Cody and Omega, the Young Bucks come out and they tease that they're going to super kick Kenny, and then they tease that they're going to super kick Cody. They make up their minds they're going to super kick Cody. They go to double super kick him. Cody ducks. They super kick Omega, and then Cody gets the crossroads and then makes the cover. Now, what I love about this is the referee was knocked out subsequently during the Young Bucks coming out and super kicking Omega. So you've got the slow count from the referee who's just recovered from being knocked down, and also the Young Bucks are in the corner just sort of like screaming at Omega, trying to get him to kick out, but he doesn't, and Cody wins. And Cody goes off celebrating on his own. The Young Bucks try get Omega to his feet and try, explaining that it was an absolute mistake. Omega doesn't want to hear it. He throws off their apology and just walks to the back, and the crowd are there going, "You fucked up," which they have. They have indeed. So, Being the Elite is followed up on. Omega's nursing his wounds backstage, and Kota Ibushi's with him. The Young Bucks try and come in, try and say they're sorry. Look, we're sorry for sort of like, ducking you. Cody was playing us, man. Cody was absolutely playing us, and we don't know why we didn't see that. And Omega's just turned around and just sort of go, well, you should have realised that Cody was tricking you, because, we've got so much history, we're basically brothers, and you didn't believe me. So from now on, I don't want anything to do with you. And he just basically blows the Young Bucks off, and it has to be Ibushi who forces them out of the locker room, just tells them to go away. So, another thing with this episode 100 of Being the Elite is Cody's there like celebrating on his own. He's the only one that's sort of jubilant in the Bullet Club locker room, because obviously the Young Bucks have been rejected by Kenny. Hangman Page has got issues going on with him. Marty Scurll in the Being the Elite storyline got offered a single a solo record deal, because one of the skits from an earlier episode is they did like a boy band skit, and the storyline has been like a record label has seen it and seen Marty as sort of like a solo musical act, So the storyline is that Marty's going on like a solo, going on a music career, and he won't be able to do be in the Elite anymore. And Cody's that sort of like self-centered and so up himself that while he's celebrating this victory, he doesn't really. He's not even contemplated to go and check on his wife. Now his wife is getting medical attention, and Flip Gordon is the only one that's with her. So sort of like they try and pass it off as sort of like being there as friends and the like, but it could potentially be something that they could go into more depth later on, which I quite like. So they tease that being the Elite is sort of it's done. That was the sort of like the last being the Elite episode, and it's actually Flip Gordon that brings it back, because on the latest being the Elite episode, Flip Gordon goes see the Young Bucks, and he just basically goes, why aren't you sort of doing any being the Elite anymore? It's just sort of like, and the Bucks are going, well, it's something that we don't really want to do anymore. It's run its course, and we're focused on other things. They go off camera. Flip is like looking at them down the corridor, and he goes, yeah, but what about your dwindling merchandise sales? And the Young Bucks come back into camera shot. They look at each other and they just go, yeah, we're gonna bring the show back. And then that's how like the first episode comes up. And to be honest, the only really thing of note from the latest one is that the Young Bucks have sent Omega a package, but he hasn't opened it yet. But he's put it in his suitcase to bring to the Dontaku show. So the last little bit on the Bullet Club implosion storyline is the second night of the Dontaku shows. The Bullet Club, it was a 5-on-5 Bullet Club match. So it was Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, and Bad Luck Fale took on Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Marty Scurll, and Hangman Page. Now, after the match finished, Omega chased Cody off to the back, and the entirety of the Bullet Club was sort of like around ringside, and Yujiro Takahashi and Chase Owens, who are the last two of the Bullet Club members, they came out and just sort of put over the fact that they needed to stop the infighting, and they needed unity, and all of the members of Bullet Club agreed, and they showed that they're united together, and everyone is united apart from Omega and Cody. So they're basically just going to let them two sort the differences out, and then as soon as that's done, they're just going to move on to crisper patches. To greener pastures, I should say. What the frig am I on about crisper patches? I don't know. It's not even English. As I say, me running down all of that might not, it might not come across that there's much storyline aspect from it, but I seriously recommend that you watch the Being the Elite series, and I severely recommend that you watch the Golden Lovers vs. the Young Bucks from Strong Style Evolved, because that is, as I say, it's an absolutely fantastic tag match, one of the best tag matches that I've seen in quite some time. That's not discounting like six-mans and stuff like that. It's literally just 2-on-2. It honestly, go check it out. It's worth your time. Right, now that that's over and done with, for now, we'll talk about some of the other competitors. Quick note on Zack Sabre Jr. actually, because as I was looking at the Dontaku stuff, I saw that the New Japan Cup was sort of like floating as like the next thing over. Zack Sabre Jr. got a little bit of a mini push in around about like the March period. He won the Super J Cup, tapped everybody out that he went up against, and that was the likes of Tatsu Naito, Kota Ibushi, Sanada, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Tapped them all out clean to win the trophy. Then he and Minoru Suzuki had a tag match against Okada and Tomohiro Ishii at the Strong Style Evolved event. And I love that match basically for the 2 minutes we got of Suzuki and Ishii just lumping seven shades of shit out of each other. And it's basically put my dream match that I want to see Ishii against Suzuki. And there's a possibility of it happening in the G1 tournament. I really hope it will be, because bar like multi-man tag matches or tag matches that they've been involved in, they've only ever been involved in one singles match together, and that was in New Japan, but it was in 2013. So we haven't had a singles match in 5 years. I want to see that match because I reckon it would be. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. I think it could be on the level of sort of like Shibata. The matches that Ishii had with Katsuyori Shibata in terms of stiffness. I mean, like hopefully they just don't do freaking unexposed headbutts to the head, because, as I say, that's what ended Shibata's career and very nearly killed him. So yeah, in that match, Sabre tapped out Ishii clean. So they really did do a good job of putting over Sabre as a killer, and him having the ability to just tap everybody out. And it's just like absolutely fantastic. And then he and Okada had a match, had the world title match at Sakura Genesis. I've got to be honest, it wasn't exactly my cup of tea, and I struggled to really watch this match, basically for the fact of Zack Sabre Jr. has a very particular style that, some people like it, and I'm not discrediting for liking that sort of style, but it's just not my kind of style. I find it a little bit too boring. I find it a little bit too much like a rest hold sort of aspect. I think it didn't really help at all that the match was, it was close to 30. I think it was just over 30 minutes, actually. Just thinking about it. I know, fantastic podcasting skills, but I do take off to Paul in terms of just sort of looking up stuff on the fly. So it went nearly 35 minutes, that match, and particularly with a certain style like that. I mean, sort of like what we saw in the Cruiserweight Classic, over 15, 20 minute matches. That sort of style works great. But if you go in 35 minutes, you have to really... There's only so much of that certain style that you can take before you start zoning out. Or at least that's from my perspective anyway. I mean, other people might, think differently, and that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine, because, certain people have certain tastes. But yeah, he was really put over strong in that period of time. Hopefully, I would like to see him maybe go after one of the belts. I'm thinking with what they've got sorted for Naito, the fact that he's taken on Jericho. If Naito is successful in beating Jericho, I would like to see Zack Sabre go up against Naito and possibly get an Intercontinental title run. I think it'd be quite interesting. Now, just before we go to ad break, there was one thing that I forgot to mention when I was talking about Will Ospreay on the last RAD show, and after the match, and that was after the match he had with Kushida at the Dontaku show. There was a spot that's like New Japan had been teasing the fact that they were getting a new Bone Soldier because the old one had retired. The original Bone Soldier was originally Captain New Japan, and from what I've been told, he wasn't very good. Like he was a particularly bad worker. So they've been teasing for ages that Bone Soldier was returning under a new person, but nobody knew who it was. So straight after Ospreay had his match with Kushida, bearing in mind that he's just been through a fucking war with this guy, Tamatonga from Bullet Club comes out and introduces the new Bone Soldier, and it turns out to be Taiji Ishimori, who, if you are a watcher of Impact at all, you will know he's been involved with Impact for like a few months prior to him appearing here. Looked absolutely chiseled. Looked, sort of like Finn Balor levels of ripped and shredded. And he's the new member of Bullet Club. They're facing off on the first night of the Best of Super Juniors tournament, which I'll get onto in a little bit. And people were asking me, I couldn't really find a way of describing how I think about Will Ospreay, because don't get me wrong, I honestly think he's really talented, but he's not one of the people that I crave. It's not someone who I think is one of the best wrestlers. And Alan Cheapshot on Twitter, if you don't follow him, he's one of the guys who does sort of like the on this day in, say, 2000. This particular pay-per-view went on, and then they'll do sort of like little highlighted GIFs of what happened in certain matches. It's worth following, because it's a really, really interesting thing to look at, if you just like go through your Twitter feed. And he posted this a few days ago, talking about Will Ospreay. He said, and this is a quote, "He's so talented, not always my cup of tea, but so talented nevertheless. I just wish he'd slow down for his own sake." And that's pretty much how I feel as well, because I remember they were talking about the Kushida match on Wrestling Observer Radio, and the fact that Ospreay keeps taking these unnecessary bumps onto his neck. Now, don't let it fool you, people. Ospreay does have a really fucked up neck, and I just want this to be. I would rather he slow down for the sake of him not doing what Dynamite Kid did, is just go all out in your 20s, have to retire in your early 30s, be confined to a wheelchair in your 40s, and then just, maybe develop a painkiller addiction or something like that. It'd be really, really sad to see. So, I mean, that would be my only thing, would be for him to just slow down a little bit. And, people who retire early, they sometimes don't always get the big break. They sometimes don't always have like a silver platter that they can get included in. So there is a possibility that outside of the ring, Will Ospreay might not do anything, and it'd just be better for his sake if he was to slow down, so his wrestling career would just be a tad bit longer. That's all I'd say. Given that my throat is pretty much closing up because I've been talking for near on 40 minutes at this point, we are going to go for a little bit of an ad break. I'm going to take a pause for the cause, and we're going to go for a quick ad break, so we'll be back after these messages. Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of the WrestleBox podcast. Now we're on to talking about previews for the next couple of New Japan shows. So, the next big couple of shows that they've got coming up is the Best of Super Junior tournament. Now, the competitors for this have been announced already, so I'm just going to go by them between blocks. Basically, it's a bit like the G1 tournament. If you're not familiar with the G1 tournament, all the competitors get put into 2 separate blocks, and basically the one who wins the most matches will be the one who tops the group, and the winner of Block A and the winner of Block B battle it out in a one-on-one match. The winner of that match will get a shot at the junior heavyweight title at Dominion on June the 9th. Although the champion is involved in the tournament, who is Will Ospreay. If Ospreay is to win the tournament, that he'll be able to pick his own opponent for the show. Obviously, challenger for his championship. So the blocks for this tournament. So Block A features the champion Will Ospreay. Bone Soldier, Taiji Ishimori, ACH, Bushi, Flip Gordon, Yo from Roppongi 3K, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Tiger Mask. So that's Block A. And Block B features Kushida, Hiromu Takahashi, Marty Skrull, Dragon Lee, Sho from Roppongi 3K, Desperado, Raisuke Taguchi, and debuting in the tournament, Chris Sabin. So some interesting competitors in there. Obviously, ACH is used sporadically by New Japan. Flip Gordon making his debut in the tournament, as is Chris Sabin. And yeah, it looks to be an interesting tournament. So potential for some really darn good matches in there. The tournament runs from May the 18th to June the 4th. And my thoughts on who might win the tournament? I think, well, depending on what they're doing about Dominion, it'll either be Ospreay or I reckon it'll be Hiromu Takahashi, because I think Takahashi is up there with Ospreay and Kushida in terms of workers in the junior heavyweight division. So the first lot of matches on the 18th and 19th of May. So Block A opening matches will be Will Ospreay versus Taiji Ishimori, Yo versus Bushi, ACH versus Flip Gordon, and Tiger Mask against Kanemaru. And the day after, on the 19th, Block B will have Hiromu Takahashi and Marty Skrull, Kushida versus Chris Sabin, Raisuke Taguchi against El Desperado, and Dragon Lee against Sho. So I expect from those matches, Ospreay and Ishimori will be really darn good. Takahashi and Skrull should be off the charts, and Kushida and Chris Sabin should be really solid. So yeah, I mean, the tournament was lauded about it last year. I remember really liking the final match, the final between Ospreay and Kushida. I thought that was a really good match, and yeah, rather looking forward to it. As I say, it starts on the 18th of May, so be sure to check that out. What's been revealed for Dominion as so far? Well, the big match between Okada and Omega for the IWGP World Title in a 2 out of 3 falls, no time limit match is going to headline the show. As I said on the last RAD podcast, Chris Jericho is going to challenge Tatsuya Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental title. The Young Bucks are challenging Sanada and Evil from Los Ingobernables, or LIJ, which is a bit easier, for the IWGP World Tag Team titles. And Hiroki Goto will be defending the Never Openweight Championship in a freeway against Michael Elgin and Tai Chi. The only other thing to talk about with this Dominion card is that they've announced that Rey Mysterio is scheduled to compete. There's no word yet on who his opponent might be, but this goes back to who I think might win the Best of Super Junior tournament. I think there's a big possibility that if Ospreay were to win it, then he would select Mysterio as his opponent, because during his world title run that he's been on, they've really been hampering up the fact that he's been trying to be, the fightingest junior heavyweight champion of all time. So I'd reckon that might happen at Dominion. So yeah, that's probably all the big New Japan news to talk about. Now, NXT, I'm going to talk about very briefly. They've done their back-to-back tapings at Full Sail this week, and the card seems to have shaped up for NXT TakeOver Chicago 2 on June the 16th, the night before the Money in the Bank show. So the current card at the moment is Johnny Gargano against Tommaso Ciampa in a street fight. See on the TV that's being aired at the moment that they decided to carry it on a bit more. I wasn't really a big fan when I heard about this, but given that it's Ciampa and Gargano, I can let it off a bit. But I kind of would have liked it if, Gargano would just... if the Gargano victory could have just been the end of it. But, Gargano and Ciampa in a street fight, that should be pretty darn relentless. Aleister Black is going to be defending his NXT Championship against Lars Sullivan, which is quite surprising. I'm not sure what to make about Lars Sullivan. He does have... he certainly has a presence. He's very good as a powerhouse. But I'm not sure how that match is going to go on. I don't know if Aleister Black will be able to carry Lars Sullivan to a really good match. But, time will tell. Shayna Baszler will be defending the NXT Women's Championship against Nikki Cross. Nice to see that Nikki Cross is actually getting an opportunity at the belt. Because she's sort of... Since Sanity went to the main roster, she's kind of been... Well, she hasn't really been featured on NXT TV from what I've been made aware of. So it's nice to see her get an opportunity. And be interested to see how she gets on with Shayna Baszler. Should be a decent match, but, we will have to see. The Velveteen Dream will be taking on Ricochet. Should be a decent match. Velveteen Dream in the matches that he's had against Aleister Black and also in the ladder match at for the North American title ladder match. He showed signs of really good stuff in it, and he's got a very very unique character, but I fear it's like one of those characters that would only work on an NXT. I feel like he'd be ruined if he was to go to the main roster right now, because there was sort of like inklings about that he may have been going up to the main roster in the Superstar Shake-Up, which I'm kind of glad he hasn't. But I'm just a bit concerned if when he goes up to the main roster, he may be very much hindered. And then the only other match to talk about is Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong for the Undisputed Era will be defending the NXT Tag Team titles against Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. So in the TV that's going to be building up to this event, it's just basically the Undisputed Era against Pete Dunne and Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. So it's basically been sort of like a 6-man promo. I could honestly see them maybe adding Pete Dunne and Adam Cole for the UK title in there, or maybe title for title. But they've also got to remember as well is that the WWE UK tournament show is happening just a few days later on June the 18th and 19th. And Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly are scheduled to go against Pete Dunne and Mustache Mountain, who's Tyler Bate and Trent Seven, on the first night. There's also NXT title matches. The American title, the tag titles, and the women's title are scheduled to be defended on the second night of those two shows, so it's quite nice to see them. So yeah, on paper looks like a decent card. Whether the build will sort of rectify that a little bit, I'm not really sure. Then the last thing I'll talk about is the first set of tapings for the World of Sport TV show. So the first show's been taped, and there's nothing been revealed of sort of like no spoilers on like matches or results or anything like that, but there is a spoiler of the talent that was featured on the shows from last night, and it's quite interesting to see that Will Ospreay is featured in there, which is quite surprising to hear, because given that he's full-time in New Japan, I figured that ITV and New Japan probably struck out a deal for Ospreay. So, I mean, it's interesting to see whether they go in the same format that they did for the show on New Year's Eve a couple of years ago. I made my feelings clear that the pilot show that they did a couple of years ago was just it was pantomime rather than wrestling. But you know, that's just me. That's just me. I mean, if they do it the way that it should be done, it should be good. But I'm not really holding my breath too much. And that is going to do it for today and the revamped edition of the WrestleBox podcast. Just got a couple of things I need to plug. First off, our daddy company, run by Paul the Hat Guy Flinders, which is, of course, the RAD Live podcast. They're available on Facebook, on Twitter. Also, our brother company, run by the Lost One himself, Adam Cox, which is the Lost Art of Podcasting, and also a side project, the Lost Art of Wrestling. They're obviously available on Facebook and on Twitter, and obviously you can catch all three of them podcasts on iTunes, on Spreaker, on Spotify eventually, and all good listening sites. While I'm plugging RAD Live as well, be sure, if you're in the market of some new headphone use, some new headphones. I'm really mucking this up now. Go to sudio.com, that's sudio.com, browse their headphone selection, and if you're willing to front up the money, at the checkout, put in the promo code RAD, that's RAD, and you'll get 15% off your order. The kind of quality headphones that are on offer, Paul has reviewed on the previous RAD Live podcast, and he rates them as highly as Dre Beats headphones, but for a fraction of the price, as well as the discount on top of that, so it's a bargain. And the other thing that I'll plug is New Japan World for the low cost of £6.75. Yes, it's cheaper than the WWE Network. You'll get access to a whole plethora of great wrestling, 25 years back catalogue in there, from New Japan, the stuff from All Japan as well, and also where New Japan stars have appeared on Revolution Pro shows, they're on there as well. I'm waiting for Ishii and Keith Lee to be put on New Japan World, because I really want to watch that show, because it sounds a fucking blast. Subscribe to New Japan World, it'll expand New Japan even further, give them the props that they deserve, because, I'd rather invest my money in New Japan World than I would the WWE Network, but that's just me. But yeah, that is pretty much it. And I was hoping this would be more of a smooth transition than I am making it. Please bear with me. It's been a couple of years since I was in the podcast scene. But that'll do it for this show. I've been the Scouse One, Lewis Ogden, and I'll see you in the future.